Sure, so. Merci.
Bonjour à tous. Welcome, everyone. I will now call the meeting to order. Madame la Greffière.
Your Worship, all public meetings hearing assistant devices are available at the entrance to the council chambers. Members of the public have the right to address City Council in the official language of their choice. Meetings are broadcast live in both official languages on the city's YouTube channel, accessible via moncton.ca, and will also be aired at 9 p.m. this evening on rogerstv.com. Individuals who have registered with the city clerk's office at least 7 days prior to the meeting agenda deadline will be allocated 5 minutes to deliver their presentation. All other public presenters will be allotted 2 minutes, 1 minute. At 1 minute, warning will be provided to indicate the time remaining. Important reminder, all presenters, city staff, and council members are expected to conduct themselves respectfully at all times. Disregarding disparaging remarks, offensive language, or profane expressions directed towards council staff or members of the public will not be permitted. Any breach of this code of conduct may result in the presenter being directed to leave the council chambers at the discretion of the chair. Toutes les séances publiques du Conseil municipal.
All public sessions of Moncton City Council are simultaneously translated, and receivers are available at the entrance of the council chambers. Members of the public have the right to address the council in the official language of their choice. Meetings are simulcast in both official languages on the City of Moncton's YouTube channel and can be found on our website at moncton.ca. It will also be broadcast at 9 p.m. on rogerstv.com. If you have registered with the city clerk's office prior to the agenda being published, that's 7 days before the meeting, you will be given 5 minutes of your presentation. All other public presentations will be given 2 minutes. You will receive a reminder when 1 minute is remaining. Important reminder, all presenters, members of council, and staff are obligated to behave respectfully at all times. Any offensive or profane language shall not be tolerated. Any breach of this guideline may result in the presenter being asked to leave the council chambers at the discretion of the chair.
À la discrétion du président ou de la présidente.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Greffière.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk.
Could I have a mover and a seconder? Conseiller Richard, Conseiller Butler. Any questions? No questions. So could we go to a verbal, comment on vote? How are we?
Show of hands.
Donc, show of hands, everyone. C'est beau, motion carried, Madame la Greffière.
Des conflits d'intérêts, are there any conflict of interest?
No conflicts of interest.
Next would be the adoption of the minutes of April 22nd, 2025.
Could I have a mover and a seconder for the adoption, please? Donc, il y a quelqu'un, Conseiller Kingston,
Councillor Kingston, Councillor Richard. Perfect, thank you. No questions?
C'est beau. Merci. Merci à tous. Motion carried.
Next is the consent agenda. Les questions soumises à l'approbation du Conseil, and this evening it's event, street closures, and noise bylaw exemption requests for fall and winter of 2025. The street closures are included in your packages. So the motion before council is that Moncton City Council approve the temporary event, street closures, and noise bylaw exemptions request as outlined in the background section of the council report form to allow the events to proceed as planned.
Merci, Madame la Greffière. Could I have a mover and a seconder for the consent agenda? Conseiller Kingston, Conseiller Léger. Any questions? No? So we'll go to the vote, which is electronic. Merci, motion carried. Merci.
Next are public and administration presentations, les exposés du public et de l'administration. This evening, we have one public presentation, Moncton Cares 2024 in Review and New Initiatives, and we have Ketan Raval here to present.
Bonsoir, Monsieur Raval. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Raval.
It's on now. Okay. Thank you, Honorable Mayor and respected Council to have me here and to represent Moncton Cares, what we do, and what we are planning to do from here onwards as well. Before I begin, I also want to thank you for my team, my board member, and some of the volunteers who are here, who has been helping us to do a wonderful job. I had only 5 minutes and I had a lot of slides, so I tried to consolidate a lot. First, we want to go through some of the work that we did last year and just want to give you updates. Our airport pickup program, we welcome more than 600 individuals with our airport pickup program, mostly done by volunteers. Pre-arrival session, we helped with the 430 immigrants who we helped them with the helping them to go through what they need to, how can they integrate in the Greater Moncton area. We hosted the career networking program, language courses. We had conversation circles. Learn to camp program. We started a community sports program as a pilot last year, and we have like 500 members now. We hosted text clinic. On an average, we had 5,000 unique members in last year, and we hosted almost 80 events and workshops in 2024. I just wanted to consolidate everything to stay within the time limit. We started new program. Again, there are many new programs. However, I would like to very much be specific to first one, which is multicultural food bank. This is province first multicultural food bank, and our aim was to help to provide culturally appropriate groceries to people who are suffering with the food insecurity. And not only that, we will be serving culturally appropriate food for food insecure population, but we'll also bring the advocacy to Feed NB because we are provincially approved food bank. So we'll be helping them to come with the different programs with provincial level, all the food banks to have a culturally appropriate food for the serving this minority. Another important program that we are starting is mental health counseling. This counseling for all is another initiative where we'll be providing 6 free health, wellness sessions. They would not need any insurance. They would not need any immigration status. And this will be free for mental health and wellness. This is regarding when you move here, there is a different, when you move, you go into isolations and you don't have a social safety net. So sometimes that creates an issue with the integration and how do they behave in the public environment. So counseling will help them. And this will be free. This is in partnership with another wellness organization. There are other programs, but for that we have special events coming up, which is my last slide. I would like to also share that how we collaborated during this year. So this year in the Polar Festival, we provided 70 volunteers to City of Moncton for the Polar Festival. And what helped is these newcomers that you see, they get integrated in the system. Like they were there as a volunteer, but that also helped them to embrace how to embrace the winter and winter activities. Then we hosted a Sea Cares event, which is on International Women's Day. We invited immigrant women leaders and immigrant vendors. We had around 250 attendees, 20 panelists, and as it is mentioned, 50 volunteers were there. This was our volunteer appreciation event. We have community programs going on. We have around 400 participants. We do everyday activities. We started career networking, employment support programs. We had 8 events so far. This is 20 for 25. 400 people are participating in it. We hosted community barbecue. This has been one of the flagship. 1,000 people attended. This is food bank photographs. I would like to. This is Canada Day event, Festival of Colors. You can see here Councillor Richard and Councillor Swan Crossman visited us, and even Councillor Brian Butler were there, and Monica Labla. We had around 2,100 people participating in this program. This community program we launch with City of Moncton every Tuesday and Thursday. We are also doing activity program at Centennial Park, and every for July and for August. This is in partnership with City of Moncton. One of the important things that we did in last 2 years is to how do we collaborate with Town of Riverview, City of Moncton, and other organizations which are the logos are displayed here. So that's more or less our updates, and just want to share. I know I am off time limit. September 25th is event that we want to invite all of you. This is going to be a first public event from Moncton Cares, and we'll be sharing our new programs and what we are planning to do in city for upcoming years. So you all are invited. Please save the date, September 25th at ISEC. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions from council? Councillor Butler.
Gotta wait for it to turn red. I noticed in that anytime there was exercise, I didn't see you in that picture. So were you taking the picture? All joking aside, you know,
Yes.
Moncton Cares, you're doing a fan. They missed out in the best part of the joke, probably. Every time I go to one of your events, it's so awesome. You know, the people are so happy. The kids are running around. You know, it's pretty neat. And you know, we've used you guys have used the North NY a few times, and when I've been up there, it's you know, one of the things is, like you said, when they come in, they're isolated and they really get to know the community and know what's available for them.
Yes.
You know, and they're always so polite and wanting to learn. That's so important. So, you know, just, you know, from my point of view, just one other question. So when we look at this, a lot of numbers, like 620 new. From a counselor's point of view, it would be nice to know where they settle, what part of the city. I have a feeling that it's probably the north end, but, you know, I wouldn't want to say that, you know, we're getting bigger up there than any other place, but could you just elaborate on that?
Sure. There is a number that 43% newcomers are settling in Moncton Northwest. So that itself tells that where most of newcomers immigrants are currently going. However, if we talk about Greater Moncton area, more than 70% comes to Moncton, and the rest of 30% goes to Dieppe and Riverview. Moncton North and Moncton Center is the first two preferred location in area near University of Moncton because of the students.
All right, I think I'm good again. Can't pause you got to keep talking or it goes off. So I guess it's good for a counselor to know like where the newcomers are settling. So when we're looking for ideas like what we should be doing
Yes.
in that area, like, you know, if it's programming through Parks and Rec or whatever, even with the schools programs and things. So I just thank you very much, and it's always good to get you up here in front of the mic and to get the data. And it's very important. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Merci, Conseiller Butler. Conseiller Bourgeois.
Councillor Bourgeois.
Allô? Merci, Ketan.
Thank you.
Important service or services that you provide to a lot of our citizens, not just the newcomers, but to integrate with the rest of the society. But I do have two questions. It's a two-part question, so I'll surprise you with the first one. But 25, 30, 40 years ago, we did have much fewer immigrants coming to the city. And statistically, about 3/4 of the immigrants that came to not just Moncton, but anywhere outside of Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver, within 10 years would move to Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver. Do you have any statistics, or at least your own personal opinion of working with a lot of the newcomers? What percentage stay versus what percentage eventually move?
One. So shall I answer or wait for another? So 10 years is a long year to think about retention, because local, like we have seen the trend that even local youth moves to other provinces. So there has been a challenge for Atlantic provinces. Last 5 years, data suggests that we have increased retention up to 15% from where it was. So and in terms of total growth, it's almost 50% increase in the retention than what it was before 2019 and what is now in 24-25. So retention is increasing. And I also attended David Campbell's presentation last year. He also tracks this data. And also Southeast New Brunswick tracks this information. 1 year, 2 year, and 5 year retention is increased in Greater Moncton area, and it's better than the rest of the CMAs in New Brunswick. So we are going there.
Excellent.
Yes.
Second part, for those smaller, we'll call them the exception that do move, what do they say? Is there anything that the city of Moncton could do to increase the number of people staying here?
I personally, based on last 5 years working in this sector, I always say I'm an accidental not-for-profit founder. Never thought that I will start an organization within few months of moving here. That's 5 years of working in this sector. Few anecdotes that I can share. One is we need to have a labor market matching, like bringing people in and what kind of jobs we have. If we have more closer relationship between this, we will have more people staying here. If we bring thousands managers, we don't have 1,000 managerial job in Greater Moncton area, but we have a different need in different sector here. So one that I have observed is having more match with the labor market force, that what city of Moncton needs and what kind of skill set that we are bringing in that will help us. Another is youth, young families. Young families want to stay in Moncton. Whether it's youth, they want to go out, or someone who is late, probably after 50 and they are coming here, they want to go because their kids want to go to other universities. But youth moving here, they want to stay here. They want to raise their families here. So these are some anecdotes that I can share. So more youth and rec. That was the reason these all community events, integration events, community activities, because the more they get integrated, they want to stay here, but how do they integrate in the society? So that was more our objective was that to integrate them, all these young families and youth.
Thank you very much. I assume that you share that message with our staff. There's some things that the federal government does and the province does, and some things that the city staff does. If not, I encourage you to contact them, but if not, you can contact me, not contact staff.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, Ketan. Merci, Madame la
Merci,
Présidente.
conseiller Bourgeois. Conseiller Richard.
Merci, Madasterio. Ketan, I was glad to see you had a bottle of water. I almost pulled up a chair. You were running through that slideshow. I thought you caught your breath pretty good. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the presentation. I'm not sure if the picture of me and Councillor Crossman are going to help you sell a whole lot here, but that was so much fun that day. Out of the program, so a number of events and workshops, 80 plus, you presented 10 of them on a slide. I'm sure there's something missing. There must be something up and coming. What's the next big project?
Sir, that's a secret. Then I would like all of you to visit on September 25th. We will be sharing a lot of new programs that we are launching. And I'm sure that something that has not been done before. So it's going to be very helpful to city as well. And it's probably maybe a template that province can implement to other town and others. So we really would like you to visit on September 25th.
Okay, I gotta check my calendar, that's for sure. And for people who want to know more about Moncton Cares, where can they go? Is there a website?
Yes, we do have a website and we finally have an office space. If I brief about 4 years working without an office and we were serving more than 3,000 people, finally we have an office space at St. George Boulevard. And some of our staff is always there and probably all the volunteers. If I add that, we have around 600 volunteers working with us at the moment. They can reach out on our website, social media. We are very active on all the social media to support the community. And if I want to add, it's not just newcomers. 40% of the services currently are accessed by local citizens as well.
That's great. Now, you're very active on social media and very well. So I just want to give you an opportunity to tell everybody else here. So
Thank you.
great job. Keep up the good work. You and your team. I see there's a lot of them out here. So merci. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mercy.
Merci, conseiller Richard. Conseiller Crossman.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks for the presentation. Good to see you again. It's nice to see that we cleaned up after that afternoon we spent down on the waterfront. But I do have a couple questions for you, and I won't keep you at the mic long. The entire presentation, you talk about how valuable the individuals are and your volunteers are. Where do you get your funding to do these projects? Because as council sits here and the general public sit here and look at this, there's no way that you're doing this at no charge back to the community.
Thank you for asking this question. If most of our programs are free, and some of the programs, for example, language course that we run at very not-for-profit cost. I would say $24 for a month. So that covers the teacher's salary by itself. And it covers the rental cost. So some of these programs, we do it in a way that how do we keep it affordable to everyone, not just to newcomers, but to everyone. Because we were new organization and we were not yet successful with the IRCC funding or anything. So we were trying to be creative to manage all these funding opportunities. In terms of number, we are the largest in province of New Brunswick. And in terms of funding, we are probably smallest, even smaller than 5,000 down multicultural organization. So our funding is a fraction or 100 of any other settlement organization at this moment. We get some money from City of Moncton. I would say 15,000 a year, which is, just want to give you number 15. Most of it is sponsorship that we raise, more donation that we raise, and a lot of heavy lifting is done by volunteers as well.
Okay, and when you welcome Moncton Cares welcomes the immigrant to Moncton, what do you walk them through? So when they first come to Moncton, they reach out to you, what is the process and how do you make them, I guess, get along or fit
Yes,
in
yeah.
to Moncton, shall we say?
So most of
You
the
don't have to
time,
go into great depth if you can just.
yes, I'll just brief you in 30 seconds. Uh, two important projects, two important programs that we run. One is pre-arrival session. What we do is even someone is coming here, we have a pre-arrival virtual online session, and we walk them through everything, including map, transportation, public services, how to integrate in the society, what's going on. Sometimes harsh reality as well, that okay, that the labor market, like job market, is not good, or rental, it will cost you more than what you assume. But it's better to make them ready before they land. So,
Right.
so they come with those resources, and that helps them to integrate faster. Like if they know that okay, I need to have 6 months more resources because I may not get the job, or I have to buy a vehicle immediately because public transport at this moment is not something that they have in their home country. So pre-arrival session plays a huge role. And second is a welcome airport pickup program. When someone goes and pick them up, that's their first friend, you know. So they exchange their WhatsApp number and they become the consultant, free consultant for the city of Moncton. And when they are dropping them off, they also help them how to navigate the city. They explain this is DF, this is Riverview, this is Moncton. So these two programs helps us to speed up the integration in the community.
And you also communicate with other local nonprofit groups, I assume,
Yes, yes,
on that as well.
yes.
Okay. And I wish you the best of luck on September 25th. I
Thank you.
looked at my calendar as you were speaking. I already have 2 other engagements that evening.
Okay.
So I do pass along my regrets, but if something does happen, please share with me the great news, and I'm sure it will be definitely great news.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup, Conseiller Crossland. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Crossman.
Question for you. What kind of a relationship do you have with Magma? How closely do you work with this group?
So I hope you ask these questions to everyone, but
We do.
yes. So we are trying to have a more collaborative relationship with everyone. We tend to refer some of the services. One thing that I knew when we came here, that was the question that we have other organization. One of the thing is that 90% of our programs are complementing to Magma, like there is no duplication or something like that. However, we refer where some of the sub programs they do run. For example, language courses, we do refer to them, and vice versa, I believe. But we are working and we are improving.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything that you do. Merci. Madame la greffière.
Next,
Madam City Clerk.
first is the introduction of, is it rezoning for 5 Acorn Court? And I see that Sarah Anderson is here to give a report on this.
Bonsoir, Sarah.
Bonsoir. So this is an application to rezone 5 Acorn Court from R2 2-unit dwelling zone to R3 multiple unit dwelling. The purpose of the rezoning application is to accommodate a residential care facility for no more than 4 youth at any one time. So the subject property is located in the north end of the city, east of Evergreen School, and this is in Ward 3. Excuse me. So this area of the city is predominantly residential in nature, mainly single and 2-unit dwellings. It's all zoned R2. There are areas of higher density zones, the R3 on the surrounding main corridors. You can see that in the purple in the images on the right. The subject property is currently occupied by a bungalow-style home with 6 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and a large yard. The lot is currently zoned R2, and while residential care facilities are permitted in the R2 zone, they are limited to 225 square meters in gross floor area. The home at 5 Acorn Court is 315 square meters. So for this reason, the applicant is proposing to rezone the property from R2 to R3 to accommodate a residential care facility in the current building. So in terms of the proposal, the home has recently been purchased by Youth Impact Jeunesse. Their mission is to provide quality care and guidance to children and youth between the ages of 2 and 25 years with social, emotional, or behavioral challenges. This is accomplished through an array of services and programs that adhere to the belief of helping youth to succeed. Youth Impact Jeunesse are proposing to use this subject home for a youth stabilization program. It is to be delivered by Youth Impact Jeunesse on behalf of the Provincial Department of Social Development. So the Youth Stabilization Program serves youth between the ages of 12 and 18. The program in this location would only support up to 4 youth maximum at any one time. At times, there may be fewer than 4 youth in the home, but never more than 4. The length of stay in the program is 8 weeks, and then the youth are moved back to their home or familiar environment. So the Youth Stabilization Program is a heavily structured program. Typically, the youth are in school, so they will continue to attend school as normal, the same school that they normally go to, and there's very little unsupervised time outside of the home. 4 staff will be on site during the day from 8 a.m. until 12 a.m., and that is a 1-to-1 ratio of staff to youth. 2 staff will be on site overnight from 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. No staff will live in the home. The plan is to use 4 of the bedrooms for the youth in the program, and the other 2 bedrooms will serve as offices. No changes are being proposed to the building or the site. There will be no cameras, no signage, and the home and the property will be well cared for. So these just give a few different images, different views, I guess, of the home and the property. In terms of background, the Youth Stabilization Program had been operating at another location in the city for a number of years. It had to be moved this spring in 2025 to accommodate a different program in the building. So Youth Impact Jeunesse had to search for a new location, and the goal was to find a home in a residential neighborhood where youth would feel safe and comfortable. All youth would be staying in the home. All the youth who will be staying in the home or would be staying in the home are from the Greater Moncton area. The subject home does fit the needs of the program with 6 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. Generally speaking, the program that would operate in the subject home is for kids who may be going through a tough time or a difficult time, for example, depression, and they need additional help to regulate and get through it. They move into this home, they work with a social worker at the home for the duration of the program, and that gives them a chance to sort of reset and get back on track. After 8 weeks, they would then be sent back to their home, or if that's not possible, they would be placed in a new foster home or new home environment. When considering an application such as this one, the municipal plan does provide guidance through policies, objectives, and principles. One of the guiding principles of the municipal plan, that's Principle 2, it specifically speaks to Moncton being inclusive, friendly, and a caring city where everyone in the community is important and has the fundamental right to a safe and healthy environment. Under the section of community care, objectives and policies speak to supporting the diverse needs of the community through integration rather than isolation. And policy CC5 speaks to supporting the development of smaller residential care facilities in neighborhoods and, where appropriate, supporting changes to the zoning bylaw to help support the development of new facilities or centers which respond to a recognized need in the community. The proposed application does meet several policies and objectives of the municipal plan. And for this reason, administration is recommending that Moncton City Council proceed with zoning bylaw amendment Z22249, and that council give first reading to zoning bylaw amendment, that the bylaw amendment be referred to the Planning Advisory Committee for their views, and that a public hearing be set for September 15th, 2025. The rezoning, if approved, would be subject to a resolution with a number of conditions, including a couple of our standard ones, but I did want to kind of go through them just to put them on the record. One, that the residential care facility be limited to 4 youth, no more than 4 youth at any one time. That would be a condition of the rezoning. And also that despite the R3 zoning, only uses that would be permitted in an R2 zone, which is amended from time to time, would be permitted on the subject lot, with the addition then of this residential care facility as approved in this application and subject to these conditions. And then the last 2 are just the standard ones, that they must conform with provisions of the bylaw and that nothing would prohibit them to apply for a variance in the future. Other than that, next steps would be the Planning Advisory Committee. Written views would be proposed for August 27th, 2025, and the public hearing would be set for September 15th, 2025. And that is
Merci
it.
beaucoup, Sarah. Conseiller Butler, do you wish to move
Thank you very much, Sarah.
and a seconder for the Conseiller Leblanc? Could I have a seconder, please? Conseiller Léger. So a question, Conseiller Butler, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Sarah, for the presentation. It's always great to see. So I want to make sure that, you know, my thing is about the zoning. It's not about the program. The program is an excellent program and it's needed in the city. But I guess my issue has been is that knowingly that this was not zoned for this, I believe that they even had a discussion with your office to ask if this was zoned for this, and they were advised what?
That it was not.
It was not.
Yeah.
So this was before the purchase of the home. So then after they, when they were told it wasn't, then they decided to still go ahead and purchase it, and then they came with to planning and with the application. Is that how it went?
They did ask about the zoning. They were told it was zoned R2. The size would restrict it, essentially mean it would not be permitted. But they did, having worked with them in the past, they did look through the policies and ask if administration, generally speaking, would be supportive of this the zoning change. So,
Okay.
given the policies.
But I guess, of course, you can go through the policies, but at the very beginning, I guess my concern is, and I've spoken about this on many matters over the years I've been on council, is that, you know, people buy property and then they come to council and they want us to rezone it for whatever reason. It could be from R2 to commercial or R2 to R3, that they can build apartment buildings, you know, the whole thing. There's a reason why we have bylaws, and there's a reason why when I look at this one, actually the house is too big for it. That's what you explained in your,
Right.
yeah, the square footage is too big for this.
For what's permitted.
Yeah.
Yep.
So for that reason, and not for the fact that we don't need this, there's lots of places for sale in the city of Moncton. But I don't think, I really, it bothers me when people buy things and expect just that they're going to come to council and get things just automatically rezoned. And for that reason, I won't be voting for this. They've spoke to you. You've explained to them at the very beginning that this was not zoned that way. And I would hope that this council follows this and says, hey, listen, you know, we have to start following. That's why we have zoning. If every time somebody comes and they have well, it's a good idea, and this is a really good idea. Don't get me wrong. This is not about, to me, it's not about not in my backyard. It could go on the next street over Shannon, and it fits, right? You could find a house there. There wouldn't be a problem. But when you have a house that's too big, you're told beforehand that it's not zoned that way, and they still purchase it. I won't be supporting it, but thank you. I really do appreciate the work you do. Thank you.
Merci, Conseiller Butler. I don't see any other questions, so we will go to Conseiller Steves. Oh, go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, thank you, Sarah. I want to make sure that I'm consistent on this as well. Augusta and Ryan, we had an apartment building there on the corner with Northrop Frye School. And this zoning thing that Councillor Butler speaks of, we were against that as well because of the zoning that was planned. I remember speaking very clearly to the person who had bought it, and he wouldn't answer my question on how much he had spent on the plans and stuff, because I said it's a very overconfident move to do such a thing before you have approval to do so. not only the zoning situation for this one, but when, counselors, when you go to the risk analysis in our CRF, the first two that are listed for risk analysis, number one, there's a possibility that residents in the surrounding community may voice concerns over the proposed use. I can promise you, Councillor Butler and I have received numerous objections to this. So that's not a possibility, that's a fact. We know that since the newspaper article came out or whatever it was that, that alerted residents to this as a possibility. The second on the risk analysis is that other care homes in the area have had some issues and residents may be concerned that similar issues will occur at the subject property. I want to let the councillors know as well. We have numerous emails from that and have received many concerns over the particular one, Augusta and Twin Oaks. And so both those risk analysis are not just possibilities, we're living that as ward councillors. So for those three reasons, which the third one was the zoning, I'm voting against this as well.
Merci, conseiller Steves. Conseiller Bourgeois.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Maire. Merci, Sarah. Est-ce que le...
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Thank you, Sarah. Is the promoter of the project present to take a few questions?
Okay. What happens if this rezoning is not approved? I'll let Sarah go first, but a developer, is it that the business will not be allowed to operate? And I'm calling it a business, a service will not be able to continue? Or is it the status quo, whatever is there now will continue? I understand it's for children, will stay at 4 children, so is will they have to sell the property on Acorn and buy a bigger or different properly zoned lot somewhere else? What happens if we say no?
The program did end in the spring of this year because of the moving of the, so it's essentially, it's on hold for right now. There's this, it's not being offered in the city. And so, yes, if council, if it gets denied, they would have to find another location, and they would have to sell the property. I'm assuming they would have to sell the property. They could keep it and rent it, I guess, but they wouldn't be able to use it for this service.
Okay, is that the understanding of the owners, developers as well?
Nick.
Go ahead, Nick.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we're not in a public hearing. I don't think that we should be speaking to the applicant or developer in this situation. Those are questions that are reserved for the public hearing. You can ask staff about questions about the presentation, but we shouldn't be asking for members of the proponents or opponents of this project right now, just because we do have a public hearing process that we're going to get to in a couple of weeks should council vote to proceed that way.
If council votes in favor of the recommendation, we're not there yet, though.
Correct.
If the vote is against this recommendation, why can't there's a possibility that this vote will not go through. So when do I ask that question? Because to me, that's a critical one.
Well, I think you can ask the question of staff, but I don't think that we should be asking the applicants to speak on behalf of their application.
Okay, so staff has answered my question. Thank you. Sorry for forcing you to get to the microphone. Okay, merci, Madame la Maire. Merci, Sarah.
Et conseiller Bourgeois.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Councillor Bourgeois. Councillor Adjet.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse.
Thank you, Your Worship.
I'll be voting in favor. I respect Mel Kenna and his group of Youth Impact Jeunesse and Moncton Community Residences, and the services that they are providing in our city are crucial. Anybody looking around their neighborhood should be able to know or find two homes close to them that are offering services to people in need in our community. I have two in my neighborhood, and I can think of many neighborhoods where these houses exist. And we need to move forward with this. We need to provide them with the tools that they need to provide this service in the city. And that is the reason that I will be voting for them. Also for the fact that we should not make generalization assumptions about what will happen based on possibly one incident or something that happens from time to time. This could be any neighbor that we have, for sure. We can run into problems with, and it doesn't have to be a group home. There can be other problems with neighborhoods. So I would want us to provide as much support to Mel Kenna and his organization and provide the services that are very essential for the people in need in our community. Thank you, Madame la Mairesse.
Merci beaucoup, Conseillère Adjut.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you so very much, Councillor Adjut. Councillor Crossman.
Regardless, we haven't voted yet, regardless of the way the vote goes. If this does pass this evening, it goes to PAC for written views, it goes for public consultation, it goes for community remarks, shall I say? I mean, when it goes to PAC, not many people can attend PAC.
Right. It's not essentially, the public hearing is the only time when the
Right.
members of the public can speak.
So that would all come out at the public hearing as far as objections or positive, anything along that line would happen at that point, provided this goes forward.
Right.
Okay, good. Thank you, Your Worship.
Merci, Conseiller Crossman. Conseiller Léger.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse, and thanks, Sarah, for the overview. These types of difficult, but I think what we're being asked, well, first of all, and I can speak about having lived next to a group home for a number of years, and certainly I don't think the fact that people are frightened or know different stories and stuff, I mean, there are good neighbors and bad neighbors, and I think what I know of Youth Quest and their existing facilities, it has been certainly a good addition to neighborhoods. And so what we do tonight is we give the opportunity for the Planning Advisory Committee to give some written views in terms of what the feeling is related to our municipal plan. And, judging by what you've presented, it seems very orderly. But on the other hand, people become worried about changes in their neighborhood. So I think it hopefully goes to the Planning Advisory Committee, and then it goes to a public hearing where people can express their views. It is a democracy. But at the end of the day, I think we have to then make a decision, and I hope that that's where we'll go, and we give everyone the chance without second guessing, why it is that we agree or don't agree. And so that's why I think, we hopefully can move forward and treat this the same as we would treat any other application for rezoning. So thank you. I appreciate the comments.
Merci beaucoup, Conseiller Léger. We will.
Thank you very much, Councillor Léger.
Motion carried.
We have 3 nay votes, Brian Butler, Dave Steves, and Marty Kingston.
Merci. Madame la Greffière.
The next item is.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
I see Sarah is here once again to give an overview.
Hello again. All right, so this is an application to amend the permitted uses in the NC, or the Neighborhood Convenience Zone, to permit residential dwellings on and below the main floor. So this will accommodate the development of a mixed-use building containing 24 residential units and commercial space at grade. So the subject property is located in the eastern part of the city, and that is in Ward 1. So the property is located south of Shediac Road, and it's got the Veterans Highway, or Highway 15, bordering the south side of the lot. Surrounding properties are primarily zoned R2, two-unit dwelling, with a growing number of new multiple-unit dwellings, mixed-use buildings, as well as a number of home-based businesses in the surrounding area. The subject property is zoned NC, neighborhood convenience. Now that zone requires a commercial type use on the main floor as the main use, and it only actually permits residential uses above the first floor as a secondary use. So the intent of that NC zone is to provide a neighborhood amenity that is walkable and contributes to the community. It helps towards meeting the goal of creating a complete community where residents can meet some of their needs without having to drive somewhere or leave their neighborhood. In this case, the applicants are proposing to provide commercial uses along the entire front of the building at the ground floor, which does meet the intent of the NC zone, but they have requested to be permitted to provide residential units within the back half of the main floor. Additionally, given the grades of the land, there's a walkout lower level basement at the back of the building, and so it also could accommodate residential units at the back and below. So because the NC zone only permits residential uses above the ground floor, the applicants are requesting to amend the permitted uses in the NC zone on the subject lot to permit residential uses both on and below that ground floor. This is the site plan. The proposal is for a 3.5-story mixed-use building with 24 units, and it's at the corner of Highland View Road and Kenmore Drive. The building is located close to the sidewalk with a parking lot at the back. All of the commercial units will be accessible by front doors facing Highland View Road. A direct pedestrian barrier-free pathway is provided on the east side of the site from the rear surface parking lot to the walkway in front of the building facing Highland View Road. And the primary access to the residential units into the building will be from the side entrance off of Kenmore Drive on the western side, as well as a direct connection from the rear surface parking at the back. So given the grades of the land, the front of the building will be 3 stories in height, while the back of the building will be 4 stories in height due to that walkout style lower level that has direct access to the parking lot at the back. So this is the floor plan for that lower level, the walkout basement, where only the back half of the building is habitable. This is the main floor with the commercial uses along the entire front of the building, and then the residential units along the back half of the building. And then this is the floor plan for the second and third floors. They would be purely residential units. These are some renderings of the proposed development. The building will contain approximately 199 square meters of commercial space on the ground floor facing Highland View Road, and then 24 units, residential units spread among all the other floors, including that one. The intent for the commercial space is to hopefully have a cafe or a tap room, a personal service or a business space, and an office. These would be pending confirmed tenants, though. And these are a few more renderings with the site plan there for context. Highland View Road is a collector road with sidewalks on both sides in this location. So the property is designated NH, or neighborhood, in the municipal plan. This designation supports completing and creating great neighborhoods. Through this designation, council recognizes that neighborhoods are unique, yet have common objectives, such as providing for a variety and affordable range of housing choices in the community. Objectives and policies also support the development of neighborhood nodes that integrate small-scale convenience needs and services at appropriate locations. The proposed development meets the intent of the municipal plan. This text amendment would enable the development to build out to its full potential by providing commercial and personal service uses along the entire facade, while still providing much-needed housing units throughout the rest of the building. The location is ideal. It's a corner lot. It faces a collector road at the front, and it abuts a highway at the back. The proposal, it's also located close to a frequent bus stop. The design considerations, such as building orientation, the materials, and the landscaping, ensures the development will contribute to the streetscape and walkability, meeting the intent of the NC zone. Overall, the proposed development supports the long-term vision of the municipal plan by encouraging growth and enhancing livability and attractiveness of the Louisville neighborhood area. So in terms of a recommendation, administration is recommending that Moncton City Council proceed with proposed bylaw amendment Z222.50 by giving first reading of the bylaw, by referring the bylaw to the Planning Advisory Committee for its written views, and by setting a public hearing for September 15th at 4 p.m. in council chambers. And so if recommended, if approved, it should be subject to a resolution with a number of conditions, and there are a number of them that they are in your package.
Merci encore, Sarah. So, Conseiller Crossman, did you wish to move?
Thank you very much, Sarah.
Conseiller Bourgeois, do you wish to second? C'est beau. Go ahead, Conseiller Crossman.
Thank you, Your Worship. Sarah, thanks for the presentation. I know this corner extremely well because when I was a youth, I used to walk up Highland View to get to school, and there was a convenience store on that corner. So I'm glad to see that it's finally developing and that there is a potential that something could commercialize in there as well, because there are a lot of youth that use Highland View to get to the school. And up the street, obviously, the Crosman Center and all the function, everything going on there, it's another avenue, it's another drive. One concern that I did have was the north side of Highland View has the sidewalks that are cleaned in the wintertime. They're priority 2, they're not priority 1. So I don't know if you want to make that document so that when it comes back from the public hearing, people understand that, you know, if this project does move forward, doesn't mean the sidewalks are going to be done within 24 hours of a storm. It just means they are going to be cleaned within our policy. That was the only thing there. As far as Kenmore goes, when you get down to the bottom past this property, you hit Route 15 or Veterans Highway. Are they planning on pushing the snow from the parking lot further down Kenmore? Because that street is a very short street. And I don't think it can handle any more of what we're pushing, let alone a private lot.
Typically in situations like this, they would have to haul off-site.
Okay.
Store whatever they can sort of in the corners and in the landscape area, but otherwise they'd have to truck off-site.
Right, so they'll still be responsible for snow removal, garbage removal, water runoff, things along this line.
Yes.
Okay, good. So I have no problem moving this to get this to the next steps. I look forward to seeing what the engagement will be from the neighborhood. There's no question about that. And we'll get that back. So thank you for your time. Thank you, Your Worship.
Merci, Conseiller Crossman. Conseiller Bourgeois.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la maire.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Thank you, Sarah. I have one question in relation to requirement number 6 or condition number 6.
Building is permitted to be reduced from 3 meters to 0, as per the plans attached as Schedule B. There's a fence there, there is a gap, so I'm assuming that we need 3 to 4 feet between a building and the end of the property. So what happens to that strip of land? Could you explain why we go from 3 meters to 0, which is something I do not recall ever approving?
Sure. I'm not sure, is it possible to get the site plan back up? This requirement is specifically 4 meters behind the main building. So that's typically so that the parking doesn't abut right up against the building. In this case, there's going to be a retention wall. And so there's not really, and it's a tight site. So there's some land. Oh, no, it's not. Sorry, I'm thinking of the wrong one at the back.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the zoning bylaw somewhere says there has to be at least 4 feet or 1 meter at least between a building and the end of the property.
Right.
So that would be about 4 feet of space.
Yes.
So there would be no landscaping there. What does that mean?
So basically just where that fence is located, there's an existing fence that looks like it's off their property. It would probably be left there until it's no longer, as long as it's still in good shape. So if it's mostly just there, the reason for it is a screening at the back. So if there's other uses behind you, in this case, there's not. And so it was deemed not to necessarily be.
So it's not an opaque fence, is it?
I believe it's chain link, wouldn't it be? It's behind the parking.
Right. I mean, all along the southern lot.
Property. Yeah.
That's chain link. So that is what you're recommending? You're not recommending an opaque fence?
Typically there would be an opaque fence. Is that, I'm not sure if the discussions were had around putting filler strips in it or. Right. Okay, so the berm is there. So the fence doesn't really screen much because it would be lower than the height of the berm.
Okay, thank you. Merci, Madame la Maire.
Merci, Conseiller Bourgeois.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Bourgeois. Thank you very much, Your Worship.
Way up at 369. So it's a great project. I'm hoping, and it's a traffic-related question, and I think maybe as we move forward, this will lead to some recommended measures for Highland View. I think it's currently, unless you can correct me, the longest collector road in the city without any kind of a three-way, four-way bump light, plus the children that often travel to Louisville Middle and Arnold McLeod from the area. A lot of kids in the area. I guess I'm making a general point, Sarah, but hopefully, if approved and continues, could you see a traffic component being added to Highland View somewhere in that area? It's a collector road that really, really needs it. I receive complaints all the time, and it may be on the list already of the traffic calming streets. Renee can clarify that, but just it's an important part of Highland View, which currently sees speeds all over the map, depending on what part of the street you're on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Councillor Kingston. We can definitely look at it. I'm pretty confident. There's been a lot of streets obviously being requested, and I'll dig through my emails and see what we found for Highland View, which, as you mentioned, is quite a long stretch. However, we're quite surprised, if I remember correctly, that the speeds were lower than we expected, which is a good news. But we'll dig out that information and send it to you for consideration.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup. Thank you, Madame Addis. Thank you.
Merci, Conseiller Kingston, Conseiller Richard.
Merci, Madame Stereo. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Similar to Conseiller Bourgeois, but in the variances, number 2, reduce the landscaping buffer in a portion of the side yard from 4 meters to 3 meters, abutting the 146 Highland View. That, I know 40 inches isn't a whole lot, but what's the reasoning?
In this case, the property lines are skewed, so it's not a straight up and down. They're kind of on an angle. So in order, you still want your building to be straight facing the road. So it does mean that the side yard angles a bit, so it's wider at one end and more narrow at the top. So at the back, I believe it's 5 meters, but at the front, it's missing that setback by whatever it is.
Well, it says from 4 meters to 3 meters.
Right.
Bringing it
So,
down.
yeah.
I was just concerned about the 146 that's next door, so.
About, sorry, the what?
The 146 Highland View that's next door, so.
Right. There's landscaping there, trees and shrubs as well. So there is still 3 meters of landscaping, and a tree can definitely grow in that.
Yep, no, just wondering why the variance, so. Okay, thank you.
Merci. We have a motion that's been moved and seconded, so no more questions. We'll go to the vote. Motion carried. Merci, Madame Lagravière.
Next item is 7.3, and it's the City of Moncton subdivision for Mountain Road, and I believe that Paul Edgar is here to give that presentation.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir. Good evening, Deputy Mayor and members of council. The administration has received an application for subdivision from the City of Moncton to create 3 portions of Mountain Road. The city requires the land from 1299 Mountain Road and 1309 Mountain Road to accommodate the construction of traffic light bases for the future signalized intersection of Worthington Avenue and Mountain Road. The proposed subdivision occurs in Ward 4. As can be seen in this map, the properties are being subdivided. They're located on the north side of Mountain Road within the Wheeler Loop. Pizza Lights on the north, Dairy Queen on the south, and even further south is the actual New Brunswick Community College. Zoning for the affected properties is suburban commercial. As you can see in red is where they're located. The first tentative plan on the Das Properties land, which is 1299 Mountain Road, we're going to take 2 portions of land from them, being PID 752527 and 752535, to create that portion of Mountain Road. The second plan, we're dealing with the Pizza Light people. and that's at 1309. And from lot 11-2, we'll be taking a portion of land there to, again, create a portion of Mountain Road. The recommendation from the Planning Advisory Committee is that Moncton City Council assent to the location of the parcel occurring on PID 00752-2527, identified as Chemin Mountain Road Public as is shown within the heavy black line on the tentative plan submitted entitled the Amended Subdivision Plan City of Moncton. The second recommendation deals with the second piece of land on the DAS properties, being 752537, the PID. Again, creating that portion of land to be attached to Mountain Road. And the third one is to assent to the location of the parcel occurring in lot 11-2, identified on the Mountain Road plan, as shown within the heavy black line, again, on the submitted tentative subdivision plan. Thank you. Any questions?
Merci beaucoup. No, I don't see any question. Oh, Conseillère Edgett et Conseiller Richard. Conseillère Edgett. Excusez-moi, do you wish to move the
J'appuie,
motion?
oui.
Oui, c'est beau. Et appuyé par le conseiller Richard.
Seconded by Councillor Richard.
Avez-vous des questions, conseiller Edgett, conseiller Richard? Non, pas de questions, donc on va au vote.
Are there any questions? Councillor Edgett, Councillor Richard, no? No questions. We'll move to the vote.
Merci, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Statements by members of council is exposé des membres du conseil, and I believe this evening that Councillor Butler has a statement.
Thank you, Your Worship. My statement is, this is directed to the CAO. I would like to have a little bit more information on why we are dealing with traffic problems up on Hildegard Drive. People turning from Ivy. We have been trying for years now to try to help people on their left turns. We have been trying to find a way to make that intersection a little bit better. And then I get a call from residents that 2 weeks ago or a week ago regards to the bike lane was widened, doubled. And now we're down to 2 lanes and the traffic is starting to bottleneck again. So a gentleman called me just before the meeting tonight and he's watched all week regards to the traffic. Seen almost several accidents happen at Ivy and Hildegard. And all week while he was watching from his house, he's seen 1 bicycle all week there. So I would like for us to have the Active Transportation Committee or the engineering to come and tell us about how they make these decisions where they're putting these bike lanes with the data. So we're only having, if we got 4,000 vehicles, but we only have 1 bicycle, I think there's a little problem that we have to resolve. We have people that are building up there, one after another, apartment buildings coming out onto Hildegard Drive. We have Ivy that is filled right up, and they got to come out there in the morning at the high times, busy times, between 7 and 8:30, and to try to get a left lane or left turn. We have no speed bumps from the very top of Hildegard by Mailhot all the way down the Mountain Road. There's nothing. It's just a straight stretch. Speeding happens there all the time. I realize when you talk to engineering, that's an RCMP problem. All right, but they've been notified a number of times too. Hildegard and Mountain Road, we have been asking for years to try to do something. We have to try to help the citizens that live in that area. So the one way that we've always talked about here is data. We double a bike lane and there's only 1 bike on that street all week. So if we're going to do that, we could have went through a subdivision with a bicycle lane. Would have been easy to go through the Hildegard subdivision with a bike lane, but no, they brought it right up. It starts nowhere, doubled, and it comes all the way down and it stops before it gets to the intersection. I sent photos around to council. They had a chance to look at it. So I just want to find out, and so do the citizens, how we make our decisions on these things. So I'll leave that in your capable hands to be able to get back to me.
Thank you, Councillor Butler. I know that, I think that engineering had provided a response, but we will go back and get some of the data and provide it to council.
Especially the amount of cars and cyclists. Thank you.
Merci, conseiller Butler, conseiller Bourgeois.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Maire. Deux commentaires. D'abord et avant tout, mon nom.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have two comments. In my own name, I feel that other members of councils would also agree. I'd like to say thank you to our firefighters here in Moncton, but also those from other municipalities and other parts of the country that came to fight the fires, namely the one in the north of Mapleton Park. The other comment I'd like to make is about our plans. We have many plans. We have climate change plans, social inclusion plans, we have a strategic plans, we have a recreation plan, an urban planning plan, but we have no plan for crime, for prevention and reduction of crime. But I do think that should be our number one priority. It was the number one priority in 2021. It was before, and it probably has been since. And it's the only service that we're legally obligated to provide. We had a public security committee in 2023 and 2024. I was a member with Conseiller Légère and Councillor Butler, and we were studying whether or how police officers would collaborate with other workers like peace officers or municipal employees, social workers from the province and others. This is something that is done in Grand Prairie in Alberta, Surrey in BC, and one city in Manitoba. We were essentially eliminated, but not officially. And so I hope that council will not have any objection to Councillor Butler, Councillor Légère, and me to resume our work in order to finish this project, to see how we could reduce crime, prevent crime in the city. We know that the two major crimes that make us enter the top 10 cities for crime in Canada is petty theft and then social issues. Public safety is more than just police. So how can we complement the RCMP's efforts, and how can we support the RCMP? And how can we do this before we vote on the budget? We have a strategic planning meeting coming up. I'm hoping that members of the committee will be advised. If they have any ideas, that's great. And if not, I think we need to act because we've been here for 4 years and the crime rate is not improving. It peaks in the summer and it almost disappears in winter, but it happens every year. Everything that we've done so far has not succeeded. So I think we need to make some adjustments. We still have a year left to our term, and I think we need to make this a bigger priority. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Bourgeois. Madam City Clerk.
Recommandation des comités des réunions à huis clos. First is a recommendation from the Committee of the Whole dated July 28th, 2025. There is one coming before Council that Moncton City Council approve the establishment of an ad hoc official languages advisory committee to assist in the update of the City of Moncton's official language policy and in the development of an action plan on bilingualism. The backgrounder on this is that the City of Moncton adopted its first official language policy in 1991 and in 2002 became the first officially bilingual city in Canada. The current official language policy was last reviewed in 2018 and is due for an update. In addition, the bilingualism in Moncton report, adopted in April 2016, is nearly a decade old. the city will celebrate the 25th anniversary of the declaration of the official bilingualism in 2027, and the lead up to this milestone is an opportune time to update the policy and revisit bilingualism in Moncton Report to measure successes, identify continued gaps, and develop an action plan on bilingualism moving forward. Administration is recommending the formation of an ad hoc, limited-term committee with representatives from council, the public, and subject matter experts, supported by staff.
Merci, Madame Lagrafia. Conseiller Légère, do you wish to?
Thank you, City Clerk.
Any questions? I don't see any questions, so we can go to the vote.
Conseiller Leblanc. Pouvez-vous faire votre vote?
Councillor LeBlanc, can you do your vote? Thank you. Madam City Clerk?
Item is recommendations from the private session of August 11th, 2025. There are two before council this evening. Moncton City Council at its private meeting of August 11, 2025 reports that the agenda for the private meeting of August 11, 2025 was adopted and recommends the following: that Moncton City Council authorize the City of Moncton to enter into an agreement of purchase and sale with TG 112 and 114 Murphy Limited for the sum of $15,000 plus applicable taxes to acquire a portion of PID 70549654 to become part of Chemin Mountain Road as per subdivision plan to be approved in the City of Moncton and the province of New Brunswick, and that the mayor and the city clerk be authorized to execute all documents necessary to complete the acquisition on terms and conditions desirable to the city and to affix the corporate seal of the City of Moncton thereto, and that Moncton City Council authorize the purchase and the City of Moncton to enter into an agreement of purchase and sale with DAS Enterprises Limited to a maximum negotiated sum of $15,000 plus applicable taxes to acquire a portion of PIDs 00752535 and 00752527 to become a part of the Chemin Mountain Road as per subdivision plan to be approved in the City of Moncton in the province of New Brunswick, and that the mayor and the city clerk be authorized to execute all documents necessary to complete the acquisition on terms and conditions desirable to the city and affix the corporate seal of the City of Moncton thereto. Backgrounder on this: as part of the city's capital works program, the City of Moncton will be executing works associated with Worthington Avenue Extension Phase 2 in 2025. The scope of this multi-year project includes the extension of Worthington Avenue and a new roundabout to serve the Shanix development from Mountain Road. Phase 2 is ongoing and includes the construction of a new road between the roundabout and Mountain Road, including a new signalized intersection at Mountain Road.
See, Madame Lagrafia, could I have a mover and a seconder for that motion? Conseiller Steves and Conseiller Kingston. Any questions? If not, we will go to the vote. Motion carried. Merci, Madame Lagrafia.
The second motion from that meeting is that Moncton City Council approve the school crossing guard policy and direct administration to maintain the existing locations for the 2025-2026 school year unless schools are closed or relocated, and start implementing program modifications with respect to the proposed policy prior to the 2026-2027 school year. The backgrounder on this: the goal of this policy is to provide an objective and concise approach to prioritizing locations for crossing guards. It was based on the Ontario Traffic Council guidelines with a few variation and includes the following evaluation criteria: student age elementary schools or middle schools, 6 to 8 crossings, and arterial roadway. Minimum 10 students crossing during peak hours. Proximity to school, less than 6 meters walking distance, 600 meters walking distance. Type of traffic control devices already in place. Other factors such as sight distance, collision history, and the exposure index.
Merci, Madame la greffière. Conseiller Butler, did you wish to move the recommendation?
No, I'd like to make an amendment if I could, Madam Mayor.
Go ahead.
That Moncton City Council approve the school crossing guard policy and direct administration to maintain an existing locations for 2025 school year unless schools are closed or relocated. And I'm adding that all schools that have crosswalk guards now be grandfathered, and this will only take place with any new school that's built. So moved.
Do I have a seconder for the amendment? Conseiller Bourgeois? Conseiller Bourgeois?
Get it here.
No.
Paulette?
No.
Oop, right here.
Conseiller Steves? Merci.
So can I speak on the question? Can I speak on
Is it no?
my motion?
Je suis pas sûre, no. Oh. Go ahead, Nick.
Sorry, I think procedurally, we had a motion, or we had a recommendation come forward that we asked for a mover and a seconder for. So I think that question needs to be answered first, and if there's no mover and seconder for the motion that's for the recommendation being
Okay.
put forward, then we can
Then
move
we
on
go to the
Councillor
amendment.
Butler's
Okay.
motion, because that's not an amendment, that's a new motion. So.
Well, it's an amendment to that motion. I added grandfathering.
But it's not an amendment, it's changing the, essential elements of the first motion, essentially, so.
Merci, Nick.
Okay, so I'll speak on the motion. So,
We'll
yeah,
go to the original motion.
Yeah.
So could I have a mover and a seconder for the original? Conseiller Bourgeois, did you wish to move the original motion?
Okay.
And Conseiller Richard, you will second? C'est beau. Donc, so we have other questions on the original motions. Conseiller Bourgeois.
Merci, Madame la maire. Peu importe si on va avec un amendement ou pas.
Thank you, Your Worship. Whether we go with an amendment or not, I wanted to make sure that any amendments or changes that were proposed in the in-camera meeting are included in the new version of the policy. I just want to make sure that what was discussed in camera was added to the policy that we're trying to approve now. I don't have a copy in front of me. Thank you. René, can you take that?
Oui, merci pour la question, conseiller Bourgeois. Oui,
Thank you for the question, Councillor Bourgeois. Indeed, there were 2 suggestions that were made. If you check your email, you may see that it was sent with modifications, and there was an update about communication regarding changes, but I know that it was done. Yes, it was done.
On revient au vote.
So we're resuming with the questions on the original motion.
I just want to make my concerns known here. Every crosswalk guard that we have right now, either Anglophone East School District or the Francophone East or Francophone South have asked for the crosswalk guard, or the PSSC, the Parents Advisory Committee, or people that live in the area. Every one of these are there for a reason. And I've spoken about it before. You can have all the data that you want. And, you know, we spoke about a lot of it, you know, in 2026, when you start to look at these, and I used the one as reference is Evergreen at the school. When you're driving up to the school, there's a sign that flashes 30 kilometers an hour. A little bit further, there's four-way stop. red lights flashing. We had to put a crosswalk guard there because people were hauling out and passing and driving right through that. So all the data that you can have, you cannot predict stupid. And that's what we're trying to do. When we take, if we use this system right now and use that, the theory that we're using to keep them or lead them, that one will be gone. Because it has all the red lights, it has four-way stop, all of that. So I'm saying that I want to make sure that the parents in the north end and around any school in this area, in the greater Moncton area, well, Moncton, know that I am definitely not supporting this for that reason. Because all the data, and I have done enough action reports in my life to know that 3/4 of them are done by stupid drivers. And now I can tell you that Moncton has a few of them. At the north end, why we got that crosswalk guard there, was there on 2 different occasions when vehicles were stopped, the 4th, 5th, maybe 6th vehicle back, pulled out, drifted by that line and right through the 4-way stop. And people had it on video, not just once, but twice. So when we tell these people next year that, listen, for $15,000, we're going to take that guard out of there because it doesn't fit. And the first kid, so an adult will stop and look across the crosswalk guard and say, okay, there's nobody floating by. Come on, kids. I'm just saying that I want to be on record for when you take that one away and some kid gets hurt or hit. I just want to be on record to know that I am definitely against it and we should be ashamed of ourselves to even vote for this. So I'll leave it at that. Go do what you want.
Merci, Conseiller Butler.
Thank you, Councillor Butler. Councillor Bourgeois. I'll keep it till the end. As the person who moves the motion, I'm allowed to wrap it up. So I'd like to speak last if anyone else has anything to say. Councillor Crossman.
I do see it in the CRF. Thanks for the presentation. I did hear Councillor Butler talk about making an amendment, but I haven't heard. Councillor Butler, are you making the amendment that you originally spoke about when we started discussing this item? Or are you now completely taking that off the table?
No, it's not off the table.
Okay.
I wanted all these to be grandfathered.
So I think legal's
But
probably.
Nick said, I don't think Nick said I could do it.
I'd like to have legal maybe advise what the policy should be here.
So, if I recall correctly, we had to deal with the original motion first. And then if that does not pass, then we can look to another motion.
So we can't make an amendment, is what you're saying, to the motion that's on the floor currently?
Well, it depends on what the amendment is. If it's
Okay.
if it's gonna fundamentally change what the original motion is and have to be something completely different, then it's not an amendment.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship.
Merci, Conseiller Butler. Did you wish to speak again?
I just wanted to find out from Nick if by grandfathering what we have in there now is changing the whole motion.
So you're requesting that we keep the existing policy, but you amend it so that the current sites would be
Absolutely.
grandfathered in under the policy.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a permissible amendment if you wanted to propose that.
Okay, so that's why I'm opposed. Thank you.
Merci, Conseiller Butler. So we will go back to the original motion. We have a motion.
No, we have to vote on the amendment first. It will have a mover and a seconder and then vote on the amendment.
And we have a mover and a seconder.
So Conseiller Butler, and who is the seconder? Conseiller-
Steve.
Oh, Steve, sorry. So we will vote on the amendment then. Go ahead, Monsieur Le Gérant.
City Manager, you have the floor.
The motion is to adopt the policy. The amendment is to, and just to make sure that the language is clear, is that current sites served by crossing guards are to be grandfathered in, right? That is it. So currently, you're voting on, as council, on the amendment to grandfather current crossing guard situations. Am I correct, Nick? And then after that would be to approve the policy. Okay.
So, Conseiller Bourgeois, do you have a question? We're going to the vote right now. So moi, je suis mélangée là.
I had a comment.
I must say I'm a bit confused.
Be able to speak at the end of it.
C'est bon.
On the amendment, I tend to agree with legal counsel. The amendment, and I can't go into the private discussions, but the amendment is a completely different than the motion. So to have the two combined is to me, just doesn't make sense, because we had options and we voted for this one. And the one that if the amendment was to, let's say, grandfather evergreen, that to me would be okay, because it's a minor tweak. But to grandfather all of the previous crossings is a completely different motion than what the policy called for. So correct me if I'm wrong before we vote on that amendment.
Well, I think it's a question of interpretation, and council can choose however they want to address the amendment. From my perspective, I think it's an acceptable amendment, whether you're grandfathering one site or you're grandfathering all of them. I think it's an acceptable amendment. It's not completely undoing, or it's not completely in opposition to what the original motion was, but you have the right to not vote in favor of the amendment, go with the original, and if that fails, then another motion can be proposed.
Okay, because I would support some, but not a blanket statement that we keep every other one, a dozen, 15, not really sure how many we would be grandfathered in, so thank you. Merci, Madame la Maire.
Merci, Conseiller Bourgeois. So we have a motion to amend. So we will go to that vote. Donc,
There's there's nay votes from Councillor Bourgeois, Councillor Richard, Deputy Mayor Thériault, and Councillor Edgett for the amendment. But it passes.
so the amendment passes. So now we will go to the. Est-ce que Conseiller Bourgeois, est-ce que tu veux parler sur la...
Councillor Bourgeois would like to speak on the main motion. Councillor Bourgeois? I could not hear.
As amended.
As amended.
Yes.
Mais là, ça veut dire
As amended. Motion as amended. Yes.
Thank you.
Nick. The original motion as amended.
So now council's voting on the motion as amended.
Wait. Can we bring up the vote? There are 2 nay votes, Councillor LeBlanc, Councillor Terrio, or Deputy Mayor Terrio. The motion passes.
Merci, la motion est.
Thank you. The motion passes. Madam Clerk,
Administration de rapport de l'administration. First up is supply agreement for bulk coarse salt for the 2025-2026 winter season. Kind of feels weird saying that after a heat wave last week. Motion before council is that Moncton City Council approve and direct administration to enter into an agreement with Nutrien Limited for the supply of bulk coarse highway salt for the 2025-2026 season, effective September 1st, 2025 through to August 31st, 2026, at an estimated contracted value of $739,420 plus HST at 15% in accordance with the province of New Brunswick standing offer agreement number P03400180.
Merci, Madame la greffière. Le conseiller Richard, you wish.
thank you, Madam Clerk.
Any amendments on this? Please, no. Donc, on passe au vote.
Moving on to the vote.
Motion carried. Merci.
Keeping with snow clearing services, the award of tender TCS 25044 snow clearing services for the municipal streets. Motion before council is that Moncton City Council approve administration's recommendation to award a total of 3 pieces of equipment to be retained to provide snow clearing services municipal streets for the 2025-2026 winter season, with options to extend each contract term for up to 4 additional 12-month periods if it is in the city's best interest to do so, and that tender TCS 25044 be awarded in accordance with the table below. Bidder equipment hourly rate included, Eastco Construction, Inc., at $362.25 per hour, Eastco Construction, Inc. at $362.25 per hour, and Kevin Fraser, Inc., $373.75 per hour.
Merci, Madame la greffière. Conseiller Richard.
Thank you, City Clerk. Councillor Richard.
C'est Crossman. Donc, conseiller Richard.
Councillor Richard. Thank you, Your Worship.
Presented, and we were looking for loaders or graders. So I'm just wondering if the 3 that expired from the contracts they were in, were they loaders or graders? What's missing?
Counselor, the 3 that expired were the same machines, they were loaders.
They were loaders?
Yep.
Okay. It just wasn't mentioned in the CRF. Thank you for the clarification.
Merci, conseiller Richard. C'est Légère.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. Thanks.
Councillor Richard.
It talked about a minimum rating of 160 horsepower, and then says with preference given to equipment with higher horsepower, greater weight and age, or overall condition, which is all considered by administration in its recommendations to snow clearing services. However, we don't have any reference in terms of how many horsepower. All we know is all of them must meet the minimum standard of 160 horsepower. Do the 3 that are chosen, are those the ones that only are at the minimum 160 horsepower because they happen to be the best in terms of hourly rate? And are we really getting the best equipment that we need? And also they're among the kind of oldest of the fleet of the ones that are there. So I'm just trying to get some reference in terms of, would a $476 an hour with a piece of equipment that is 260 horsepower versus 160 give you bigger bang for your buck? I don't want to micromanage, but to me, this is just sort of saying, well, here are the three that are the cheapest, so we're going to go with the inexpensive. And if that's the case, that's fair. But then don't include the preference would be higher horsepower and so on.
Councilor, great question. Horsepower was obviously a big factor on the more expensive units. These machines, they're called Cat 950s. They're like the next size up machine. The category of equipment that you see below the Cats, the 4 units below that, are more relative to all you need for a street clearing operation. We have the larger machinery because we have large blowers and we run a heavier operation. But the size of the equipment that we've chosen does meet the requirements. They got snow tires. They've done the work before. This is pretty well the exact same equipment that we had last year.
So I'm just, so I mean, do people then waste their time putting in a bid when they have better equipment that's with higher horsepower, when really the reality is we've already made a decision that we don't need that. We really, 160 is okay because we have other equipment. I'm just trying to understand, in business, are we wasting people's time in terms of they're putting in the effort, but yet really don't bother if we've already made up our mind.
The market has every opportunity to give us what they have available to us. I mean, the equipment that is larger horsepower is also newer equipment. I do agree with you, but the contractor submitted his bid, and the other contractors met the requirements of a minimum requirement. I mean, we can set our standards too high because there is a limited market out there of equipment that we have to sort of recognize the need and the size we need, right? So, but there is times the larger equipment will come in closer to the lower horsepower, and we may consider it, right?
And do you consider the difference in if a piece of equipment has a higher horsepower that actually can give you more performance, so therefore, even though its cost per hour is higher, the efficiency of that vehicle outweighs the lower priced, less horsepower?
Higher horsepower is a condition you can look at, but you got to look at what the average norm is and the amount of load you're putting on the equipment and the type of norms we're getting. I mean, there is time the bigger machine is nice to have, but we have to sort of bid for the average, what we consider as an average performance, and we find the 160 horsepower up is typically able to meet our demands.
Okay. Jacques,
thank
did
you.
you wish to add something?
Yes, just in addition, just a couple of things as well. Just in terms of, are we getting people to waste their time in bidding on this? It's also important to remember that most of the equipment that will bid on a city contract will not just do snow clearing. You know what I mean? They will probably operate in the summer for another company or things like that. And in some years, you can have a big piece of equipment that will come at a very good price. I think in procurement, when you set the minimum conditions, it's that 160, that is what is needed to do the job, right? If somebody can bid at a good price point and it has a bigger piece of equipment, all the better, you know what I mean? But I think it's that to consider. The other thing as well, in terms of efficiency, that we also have to be cognizant is, again, the guaranteed hours that we offer. And also when we call out a plow, you know what I mean? If they finish within an hour, it's certainly beneficial for us, but you won't necessarily see that. You know what I mean? They have to go around the cars. They still have to do it. So when we set these standards, we identify the minimum or so on, versus if you went more through an RFP, not necessarily a tender, then you would start giving more points for certain things, but you would also need to be able to determine that by giving more points for a certain thing, the city would also benefit. You know what I mean? Right. So.
Okay, no,
thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. If there are no other questions, we will go to the vote. Motion carried unanimously. Merci.
10.3 is temporary activated carbon feed system, and the motion before council today is that Moncton City Council approve unbudgeted expenditures of $280,000 plus HST for the design, installation, and operation of a temporary activated carbon system at the water treatment facilities.
Merci. Could I have Conseiller Jarre and Conseiller Cross?
Thank you, Councillor Jarre and Councillor Crossman.
Thank you, merci, Madame Mattis, and thanks for the
Thank you, Your Worship.
summers become hotter, faster, and so on. In the council report form, though, you comment that there's just, I mean, we've talked about, you know, what our water situation is for the Troy community and the drought-like conditions that we've had. But I'm curious because it said it should be noted that the water elevation in the reservoirs is not directly linked to the bloom, which is occurring, while water temperature and other parameters appear to be more important factors. But wouldn't it also be that if we could hold as much water as the maximum in Turtle Creek, you would be reducing the temperature of that water. So therefore you would be slowing down any bloom. And on that note, because rate's happening, my understanding is Tower Road feeds into Turtle Creek. Turtle Creek water level is down several meters. And I guess I reflect on our 3 municipalities and the amount of water that is drawn. And I think that the capacity, I think it's somewhere in the vicinity of over 7 billion liters. It's huge. And I think approximately 1 billion a month, something along that line. But I think it's time too now. We're going to put this in place, and I thank all of staff for, you know, we've been at this for a number of years in terms of upgrading the ability to treat water. The bloom is earlier this year, and so hopefully this temporary measure will bring us into the actual plant that is being built and will be finalized. But I think it's also time to have a conversation with the 3 municipalities in terms of the amount of water being used. And Moncton has metered services and the other 2 municipalities don't. And I think when, you know, I look at water almost now as gold, and without it, we'd be hard pressed to, you know, function. And so I kind of would welcome that conversation. You know, the water usages must be different in the 3 municipalities. And I think we have to have that bigger conversation. And for residents to know that, you know, if I leave my sprinkler on 24/7, my meter is running for all the water that I'm using, and I'm going to pay for it, and it'd probably be $1,000, whatever that amount is. But I can be somewhere where it's not metered, and there's absolutely no difference in the rates that one person pays versus another. And so I think, you know, I just put that out there because I think it's important. You know, most people now are very sensitive to the environment, very sensitive to what we're doing. We're very sensitive to waste management. I think we need to be sensitive to water management, and hopefully we can have that conversation. Maybe the tri-community meeting at one point, we have the conversation. I'm sure there's a cost, as we know, to meters for the other municipalities, but then there's also the right thing to do and to promote, you know, proper consumption and the value of water. So in any event, I want to thank staff personally for what you've done. I think council has been kept abreast in terms of the improvements, and we're certainly in a much better place than we were back in the 90s when we had so many issues in our city, and yet, you know, we still have things that are changing. But in any event, I want to thank you, and c'est tout, Madame la Maire.
C'est bon. Merci beaucoup, Conseiller Jarre.
So that's it for me. Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor.
Motion carried unanimously. Merci.
Next are reading of bylaws et lecture des arrêtés municipaux, and both are first readings and part of the motions that were given during the recommendations for the through planning. So I can just give reading by title. These will be posted online. They can be available to any citizens that would like to have them. Just contact the clerk's office. We can send them either email, snail mail, any way you would like to receive them. The first is concerning Acorn Court. Bylaw and amendment of the City of Moncton zoning bylaw being bylaw Z222.495 Acorn, first reading. Arrêté portant modification de l'arrêté de zonage de la Ville de Moncton sur l'arrêté Z222.49 5 Cour Acorn, première lecture. The next is the bylaw referring to 136 Highland View, a bylaw and amendment of the City of Moncton zoning bylaw being bylaw Z222.50136 Highland View, first reading. Arrêté portant modification de l'arrêté de zonage de la Ville de Moncton sur l'arrêté Z222.50 136 chemin Highland View, c'est la première lecture. Next.
Madame la greffière.
Next is notice of motions and
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
read his motion into the record.
I don't have it with me, but somebody else could read it. I just want to, I guess maybe I'll wait until we have the motion before. OK. OK, je propose une résolution de reconsidérer.
So I move a resolution to reconsider the resolution adopted adopted in July to consult ND 911 again for confirmation that the oral pronunciation of Glendale with 2 syllables is sufficiently different from that of Glendalee with 3 syllables and does not pose a challenge to emergency services in order to avoid a name change. My understanding is that Councillor Legere will support the motion and have some explanations to provide. Madam City Clerk. Thank you, Councillor Bourgeois.
Est-ce que tu veux parler de nouveau,
Would you like to speak to the motion? To provide explanations? Does Councillor Legere support the motion?
Adopt a motion to rename Glendale Crescent in the Centennial Park subdivision. This change was requested by NB 911 Emergency Response. It was requested because Glendale Crescent was deemed to be too similar to Glendalee Crescent, located in the Valhalla subdivision. NB 911 Emergency Response considered it a public safety risk. I am asking Council to reconsider its decision. Let me explain. This issue began about 6 months ago when a resident of Glendale Crescent asked me to look into the matter. She was frustrated that Canada Post often delivered her mail to Glendalee Crescent and delivered to her mail intended for a Glendalee resident. I said this was a Canada Post matter, and it was odd because the postal codes are different. For Glendale Crescent, it begins with E1E, while the one for Glendalee begins with E1G. The citizen nevertheless asked me to see if there was confusion for police and fire. I asked staff, who asked our firefighters and bylaw officers and the RCMP, and all 3 said that they had never been confused by the 2 streets. I shared the response with the citizen of Glendalee Crescent, and I thought that that would be the end of the matter, because changing street names is complicated and costly for the residents. But that resident was not satisfied and asked me to confirm with NB 911. So I asked staff to confirm with NB 911 that there was no issue. And as thought, NB 911 confirmed that they had never had an issue before. However, to my surprise, NB 911 asked the city to change it. And when this happens, the city obeys 911 to avoid liability. As a result, staff had no option but to recommend the change, and I couldn't vote against NB 911's request based on that argument. God forbid someone on Glendale loses a building or a life to a fire while fire responders are sent by mistake to Glendale. However, upon reflection, I think 911 made a mistake. As Marshall McLuhan argued, the medium is the message. In this case, our decision was based on written words. In written form, there is almost no difference between Glendale and Glendale. There's just an A at the end of Glendale that makes a difference. But orally, which is how people communicate with 911, there is a very significant difference between the two crescents. Glendale, Glendale. Glendale has 2 syllables, Glendale has 3 syllables, and the crescents do not sound alike even if most of their letters are the same. Glendale, Glendale. And that probably explains why emergency responders have never had an issue with this since the crescents were both registered in 1974. So in 50 years, no issues. I therefore ask Council to reconsider our initial decision and to ask staff to double check with 911 on the necessity to rename Glendale given the 50 years of having no issues and the fact that the two crescents are phonetically distinct. Thank you for your consideration. Merci, Madame la Maire.
Merci, conseiller.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Bourgeois.
Des comités.
Merci, Madame la Greffière. We have several this evening.
Thank you, Madame Clerk. Nous en avons plusieurs ce soir.
Ben non, mais c'est... quoi, là? C'est...
And why do we need a note? Is that what the bylaw, the procedural bylaw says? That this has to go through a notice of, so it's going to take another month. Vive section 15. Merci, Madame la Maire.
Long live Section 15. Thank you, Your Worship.
Right.
Merci. Donc, I will...
Thank you.
Accessibility Committee, Matthew Wright, Gillian Crooks, Croix Bleu Medavi Stadium Management Committee, former Mayor Lauren Mitten, reappointment. Cultural Board, Jacques Gautreau, Laurence Dubuc, DJ Joseph, reappointment. Mourad Badirou, reappointment. Reem Fayed, reappointment. Grant Evaluation Committee, Odwoodini Lewis. Moncton Sports Wall of Fame, Dwayne Tingley, reappointment. Judy Vautour, reappointment. Planning Advisory Committee, these are for the 6 months remaining on council, is that correct? So we have Dale McKellen, reappointment. Cheyenne Fael, reappointment. Miles Maley, reappointment. Roxanne Richard, reappointment. Could I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the list? Conseiller Leblanc, Conseiller Léger. So we will go to electronic vote.
You bring up the vote. There you go.
Motion carried unanimously. Merci, Conseiller Richard. Vous allez clore la réunion. Merci beaucoup.
Councillor Richard, would you like to close the meeting? Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Except for the amendment, I'm totally lost. I wasn't here for the private, so